So we're going to take a few moments here to talk about parallel lines and transversals. Chances are that you know what a parallel line is. So if I have any line, a parallel line is that same line just moved. So it's going to have the same exact slope, and because of that, as these lines are endless, they will never intersect, and that's what makes them parallel. Now, if I have a transversal, so all a transversal is if I have two lines, and they don't need to be parallel. They could be just any two lines. A transversal is going to cut through. So this red line there, that is the transversal. And what it does is it cuts through lines. Now, in geometry, we're going to use this to cut through parallel lines because when these lines are parallel and transversal cut through parallel lines, there are special relationships that happen. And that's what we're going to use in geometry. But in general, we're going to just first look at this transversal and define some of these angles. And they have different names. So here I have lines Q and R that run along next to each other, and then line P cuts through the both of them. So line P is the transversal in this situation. And notice I have these 8 angles caused or created by this transversal, and they're labeled 1 through 8. Over here I have some special names, and we're going to go through these angles and label them. So first off, I have exterior angles. Well, imagine lines Q and R make a little house. And so Q would be the roof, R would be the floor. So inside here, this is my little box, or my little house box. What's outside? Angles 1, 2, 7, and 8. They are above Q and below R. They are going to be my exterior angles. So that's angles 1, angles 2, angle 7, and angle 8. Exterior means outside, like an exterior decorator. I don't know, is that a thing? I know there's an interior decorator. But exterior just means outside. So the inside is in this little house. The outside are the exterior angles. Going off of that, the interior angles are inside the house. So these are going to be angles 3, angles 4, angles 5, and angle 6. They're going to be everything inside. Those are the interior angles. So why don't I highlight that actually? So this in here, a little bit bigger. These are going to be my interior angles all in here. And the exterior is everything outside right there. Okay, consecutive interior angles. So these are going to be angles that are interior and consecutive. So what consecutive means is that they how do I put this? They're next to each other. So consecutive angles, if I look here, 5 and 6, they're next to each other, but they're on the same line. If I look at 3 and 6, see how they're next to each other? They share the same transversal, but they're on different lines. So consecutive interior angles are going to be share the transversal, but not on the same non-transversal. So if I look at this, P is the transversal, and R is the non-transversal. So 5 and 6 are not consecutive interior angles. 3 and 6 are, because 3 is on line Q, and 6 is on line R. So we're going to have angles 3 and angle 6, and we're also going to have angle 4 and angle 5. These are pairs. So consecutive interior angles are going to be pairs. I'm not going to say angle 3 is a consecutive interior angle. It has to be angle 3 is a consecutive interior angle with something, and it's consecutive interior with 6, just like angle 4 is consecutive interior with 5. Alternate exterior angles. So alternate exterior angles are going to be opening in the opposite or the alternative directions. So here, if I have angle 1, notice it's looking up and to the left, whereas angle 7 is looking down and to the right. So the opposite of up is down, the opposite of left is right. So these are looking in completely opposite or alternate directions. So angle 1 and angle 7 are alternate exterior angles, and angles 2 and angles 8 are also. And again, we have these being pairs. So angle 1 is alternate exterior to angle 7. Angle 2 is alternate exterior to angle 8. Using that same logic, what we're going to have are alternate interior angles. So angle 4 opens down and to the left, whereas angle 6 opens up and to the right. So alternate interior angles are going to be angles 4 and angle 6. And then we also have another pair of angle 3 and angle 5, because angle 3 opens here, angle 5 opens there. And then finally we have corresponding angles. So these are angles that are really in the same location, but on the different line. So if I think about two lines and transversal, and I have 4 areas, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice the 1 and the 1, that's the same location. So those would be corresponding angles. 2 and 2 are in the same location. So 2 is in this upper right quadrant, as is 6. So angles 2 and angle 6 are corresponding angles. Notice that angle 2 is an exterior angle and angle 6 is an interior angle. Doesn't matter. These can mix and match, and they do. So if angle 2 and angle 6, angle 1 is going to have a corresponding angle. So if I move down to the next line from Q, so that's R, if I move down here, if 1 is in the upper left quadrant, so is 5. Angle 3 is going to be in the same area as angle 7, which leaves that we're going to have angles 4 and angle 8 to be corresponding angles. So if you have these 4 quadrants, you're going to have 4 pairs of corresponding angles. It's very important that you understand what these are. So if I draw any lines intersecting, you're going to be able to tell me right away what the alternate exterior angles are, what the consecutive interior angles are, and all these pairs. So understand the vocabulary words. And if you notice, I didn't really go through the definitions except for consecutive interior. More so, just focus on the position. Recognize positionally where these angles are and make some relationships for yourself to describe their locations. So here we go. We have this exercise here. So if you're in class, what we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys list these out. So what I recommend for you now is to pause the video and try and figure these. But we're going to go through the answers right now. So exterior angles. So there's actually, this is the one transversal here. And this cuts through these 3 lines. So this is just a bigger house, if you go with that same example I had before. This all in here, this is my interior zone. And this on the outside is my exterior zone. So for my exterior angles, I'm going to have angles 1, angles 2, angles 11, and angle 12. So they are all exterior. Interior angles, these are going to be angles 3, angles 4, angle 5, angle 6, angle 7, angle 8, angle 9, and angle 10. Everything on the inside. Now, if I were to say just focus on these top 2 lines, then angles 7 and 8 would become exterior angles because I got rid of this bottom floor. But because I have this bottom floor, that makes angles 7 and 8 interior angles. And so now we want to find the pairs of consecutive interior angles. Well, here's 3, and notice it's looking across at 5. So that's going to be angle 3 and angle 5. Much in the same way, we're going to have angle 4 and angle 6. And then angle 7, angle 9, and then also angles 8 and angles 10. Angles 8 and angle 10. Alternate exterior angles. So there's 1 looking up this way, and there's 12 looking down there. So we're going to have angle 1 and angle 12. Here we're going to have angle 2 and angle 11. Alternate interior angles. Going to be a few pairs here. So we're going to have angle 3 and angle 6 because angle 3 is looking down here. Angle 6 is looking that way. Angle 3 looking down and to the left. Angle 6 looking up and to the right, opposite directions. So we're also going to have angle 4 and angle 5. And then the same situation down here. So 9 is looking this way, and 8 is looking that way. So you can kind of picture like a little Z type shape, like a little zigzag. And those 2 angles are going to be the alternate interior angles. So angles 8 and angles 9, and using that same logic, angle 7 and angle 10. Corresponding angles are going to be angles in the same position. So let's start with angle 1. What has the same position as angle 1? Angle 5. But so does angle 9. So here we actually have 3 angles that are corresponding. They don't always have to be just 2. You know, I could say angle 1 is corresponding to angle 5 is corresponding to angle 9. Well, then doesn't that mean that 1 is corresponding to 9? So we might as well just say that they're all 3 are corresponding to each other. We're also going to have angle 2, angles 6, and angle 10. Angle 3, angle 7, angle 11, and angle 4, angle 8, and angle 12, right? 4, 8, 12, that same position, that bottom right corner for each little box of line and transversal. So that's it. Know these vocabulary words. If you want to make flashcards, I would put the word on one side and then on the other side sort of draw a picture to help you out. You can look at the definitions, and in fact the textbook has some really nice definitions, but sometimes looking and visually recognizing these is just as important.